If you've ever felt like your brain has 50 tabs open and every single one is loud, you're not lazy and you're not broken. And you're definitely not alone. Adult ADHD diagnoses have exploded in the last few years, especially among people who spent their whole childhood being told they were just a bit disorganized. Welcome to Pocket Daily English. Real stories, simple English. Today, why so many adults are suddenly being diagnosed with ADHD and what actually changed. Here's the secret. You don't need every word. Just follow the story and catch the main idea. Here's what makes this strange. ADHD itself isn't new. Doctors have been describing children who couldn't sit still, couldn't focus, acted before they thought, for well over 100 years. But for most of that history, one idea stayed fixed. Kids grow out of it. So if diagnoses are suddenly rising in adults, either millions of adults developed a brain condition overnight, which doesn't happen, or we've been missing something in plain sight for a very long time. Go back to the official medical language, and you can watch the assumption change in real time. In the 1960s, the condition was officially named hyperkinetic reaction of childhood. The word childhood built directly into its name. For decades, adult symptoms simply weren't part of the diagnostic picture because nobody was looking for them there. If a symptom isn't in the definition, doctors don't diagnose it, no matter how clearly a patient is living with it. That started to shift with long-term research. Scientists began following children diagnosed with ADHD for decades, into their 30s, 40s, 50s. And a striking pattern showed up again and again. Many of them never grew out of it at all. The hyperactivity often faded, but the restlessness, the difficulty focusing, the racing thoughts, those frequently stayed, just wearing a quieter adult disguise. The condition hadn't disappeared. It had just stopped looking the way doctors expected it to look. That research eventually reached the official rulebook doctors use to diagnose conditions. In 2013, the DSM-5, psychiatry's main diagnostic manual, updated its ADHD criteria specifically to better capture adults, lowering how early symptoms needed to appear, and adding examples that actually reflect adult life, like struggling through paperwork or losing focus in long meetings instead of only classroom behavior. Almost overnight, a huge number of adults who'd been symptomatic their entire lives finally fit a definition that had simply never been built for them before. Here's the twist that surprises most people. A huge share of newly diagnosed adults are women, and there's a very specific reason why. ADHD in girls often looks completely different from the stereotype, less hyperactive. More of a quiet daydreamer is Halim missed by teachers and parents for years. Many women are only diagnosed after their own child gets evaluated, and they suddenly recognize the exact same patterns in themselves that they'd spent their whole life explaining away as just being scattered, or lazy, or bad at adulting. Diagnostic criteria explain part of the rise, but there's a second force at work: visibility. Over the last several years, short videos describing ADHD's symptoms in plain, relatable language have spread everywhere on social media. And for a lot of adults, that was the first time they'd ever heard their exact experience described out loud. That kind of visibility doesn't create ADHD, but it absolutely creates the moment someone finally thinks, "Wait, that's me," and picks up the phone to book an evaluation. Access changed too. Getting evaluated for ADHD used to mean a long wait for a specialist, often only available in major cities. The rise of telehealth accelerated hard during the pandemic, made assessment reachable from a laptop, on a lunch break, without taking a day off work. A test that used to require months of waiting and hours of travel became something a working adult could actually complete. Fewer barriers meant far more adults finally following through on a suspicion they'd quietly carried for years. There's one more piece researchers keep pointing to: the modern workplace itself. Decades ago, plenty of jobs were physical, varied, hands-on, work that naturally suited a restless brain. Today, a huge share of jobs demand hours of sitting still, reading, and sustained screen-based focus. For someone with undiagnosed ADHD, that shift can remove every coping strategy that used to work by accident. The condition didn't get worse. The world just stopped accidentally accommodating it. So what's actually happening in the brain? Researchers point to differences in how the brain manages dopamine, a chemical tied closely to motivation, reward, and focus. In an ADHD brain, that system often runs less predictably, which can make it genuinely harder to stay engaged with a task that isn't urgent or immediately interesting, no matter how much someone wants to focus. It's not a character flaw. It's a difference in brain chemistry that professional evaluation and, for many people, treatment can meaningfully address. That's also why willpower alone rarely fixes it. Telling someone with ADHD to simply focus harder is a bit like telling someone with poor eyesight to just look harder. The effort isn't the problem. The system underneath is wired differently. Understanding that distinction is often the actual turning point for adults who spent years quietly blaming themselves for something that was never a matter of trying hard enough. So the honest answer to why are so many adults suddenly being diagnosed isn't one single cause. It's several forces landing at the same time. A diagnostic manual finally catching up to adult symptoms. Decades of research proving the condition doesn't just vanish. A generation of women recognizing themselves through their own children. Social media making the invisible visible. Telehealth removing the barriers to asking. In a modern workplace that quietly stopped accommodating a restless brain. So, if any of this sounded familiar, the racing thoughts, the tabs that never close, spending your whole life explaining yourself away, you're part of a much bigger story than you probably realized. None of this is a diagnosis. Only a real evaluation can tell you that. But if this is the first time you've heard your own experience described out loud, that alone might be worth paying attention to. If this helped you understand something new, subscribe for a new story every week. And tell me in the comments, did anything in this video sound exactly like you? I read every single comment.